As a new immigrant, navigating the Canadian workspace sometimes can be such an arduous task. And so that's why today I have put together a few pointers that will help you do better in your work environment and also mistakes to avoid just so you don't land into any issues whatsoever. Stay tuned. Hi guys, my name is Ichechi. I'm a Nigerian immigrant based in Ontario, Canada, and in my channel I talk about my life as a Canadian immigrant and putting out helpful videos that will make settling in Canada super easy for you. If this is the first time that you are joining me on here, I just want to welcome you specially. Thank you so much for stopping by. I do hope it's not your last. Consider subscribing if this is the kind of content that you were looking for. Please hit the notification bell icon as well. Like this video and continue to share. You never can tell who needs to hear what I'm about to say today. To my returning subscribers, I have no words for you other than to say I am truly grateful for you. Thank you so much for making it exciting to talk to you guys, to share all of the beautiful things I share on here. I'm truly grateful for you. If you see me look down, I have made some notes because I don't want to miss out on any vital information that I'm about to share. So just know that I have made some points and I am going to take it one after the other, sharing everything that you need to know. The first thing I want to talk about is awareness and inclusivity. Canada is such a diverse country that houses and that opens its doors to different nations of the earth, different countries. So you have people with different cultural backgrounds, different beliefs. So Canada tries to identify all of these people and be very inclusive of these people. So there is such a high respect for individual identities that cuts across your race, it cuts across your sexual orientation as well as your gender. So to avoid any form of ambiguity, you would often find in a typical Canadian workplace setting where if people are to introduce themselves, they would not only say their names, they would go by the pronoun in which they want to be addressed. Coming from Nigeria, that is such a different ballgame entirely. And so one of the things I quickly learned was the use of pronouns. Now, you don't want to make a mistake to assume that because you see someone that has the appearance of a woman, then that person is a woman and vice versa. So you would often hear pronouns such as she and her, they, he, him, and the likes. Be sure to ask or listen and take a cue from there. The last thing you want to do is to offend people and just throw caution to the wind simply because where you come from, it is a certain way that things are done. Now that brings me to my next point. Be flexible to unlearn and relearn. Most of the things that you know back home, you find out that when you come here, it is not an exact fit. Be smart enough to know how to adapt. One of the things that they are big on at the point of your interview is if you would be a perfect fit for the company. And it is not just being a perfect fit because of your skill set, it is how quickly you can integrate into the system. Take note, guys, they are very certain about who is a perfect fit. Being a perfect fit is not just something they take lightly. It transcends in your attitude towards work. It transcends in how much of a team player that you are. please be sure to take note of these things. Do not take things for granted. Be open-minded to unlearn most of the things that you know and to relearn. You don't have to throw away your values. You don't have to throw away the things that you know and like your opinion. Just be open enough to incorporate everybody and be very respectful of everyone's belief, the sexual orientation, and all of that. Okay. The next workplace culture I quickly learned is the use of first name. So people here are addressed and prefer to be addressed by their first name. So in a typical Nigerian setting, you would definitely address your boss by sir or madam, and even when you were trying to point out to somebody, you say, oh, this is my boss. It's not exactly how it works here. Everyone is addressed on a first name basis. It was a bit strange for me, but I mean, I'm very used to it now where I can call my boss by her first name and it's not a big deal. People are not offended here. So the emphasis isn't so much on your job title. It's more of like a team experience. It's more of like building that team. But it doesn't mean that, say for instance, in a setting where you go to a place and introductions need to be made, obviously at the point of such introductions, the person would definitely be adding like what their job title is. But in course of the everyday relationship that you have, you want to address your colleagues by their first name. Things like this that you feel like, oh, you are trying to be respectful, can actually offend the person. So it takes, like your mind needs to be open to these things, because it's just easy to overlook and simply assume that where you're coming from, oh, you want to be very respectful, and one way you want to show that respect is to say, oh, good morning, ma, good morning, sir, or like you want to just give your boss that kind of high level of elevated respect, if I try to use that word. Here, addressing your boss and your team mates by their first name doesn't connote disrespect. Actually, they prefer it that way. It just shows that it kind of creates an atmosphere for you to relax, be free, and do your job. So don't get it twisted. Don't feel like, oh, I'm being very disrespectful. I need to show some high level of respect by addressing my boss, as a sir or as a madam or whatever. No, it just is not the way that things are done here. So please take a cue, okay? Another tip I want to add to what I just previously said about first name basis is, if you are unsure of how to pronounce your colleague's name, guys, do not hesitate to ask, how would you want me to pronounce your name, or how is your name pronounced? Trust me, it actually even gives more sense of that inclusivity I talked about. Imagine working with your colleague daily and you don't even know how to pronounce their name. It doesn't sound right. And I feel like it is a genuine cause for concern, because you could constantly be offending the person. On the other hand, if for some reason they do not know how to pronounce your name, which is very typical, most of us from Africa, Nigeria, and whatever country you're watching from, so long as you're African, our names are very unique to our background, so it's hard for them to pronounce it. If you find yourself in this situation, also do not hesitate to give them the correct pronunciation. It may take them a while, but if that is what you want to be addressed, you don't want to shorten the name, make sure that you point that out to them in a very nice manner. If as time goes on, trust me, they will get the correct name and run with it. So if you're unsure of how your colleague's name is pronounced, please do not hesitate. Remember, I said initially, Canada is such a diverse country where people from different nationalities come, into. So, of course, you'll be having different backgrounds, you'll be having different ethnicities. Names are like people's identity. So, I don't think it's a good thing that you are constantly murdering someone's name. So, if you are unsure, by all means, feel free to ask, how would you want me to pronounce your name? Sometimes even these folks could give you like an abridged version of their name. If that is what they prefer, honor it. Go ahead and pronounce or pick what they would prefer to be addressed. Okay? Fam, another important point. In fact, if you are not taking notes, better bring out your writing material and take notes. This one is a common mistake that most immigrants make, especially to my Naija fam. This particular point, please take it very seriously. This is where a lot of folks miss it and end up having issues with HR. You just see someone that has started like a good job, and before you know, that appointment is terminated, and you hear things like, oh, sexually harassing a staff. The place of consent cannot be overemphasized in the Canadian workplace. For instance, if you are feeling very generous towards another colleague, maybe in their time of grief or for whatever reason you feel like they need a hug, do not go and rush and give a hug. You better ask, is it okay to give you a hug? And if the colleague says yes, go ahead. If the colleague says no, respect their boundaries. Because we are very communal in nature, sometimes you just want to go the extra mile, you want to be there for someone. Be sure to ask, because to be honest, the person may not even need these things that you are offering. Another thing under consent, sometimes we are so used to talking to our colleagues and you hear things like, oh my dear, oh my brother, my sister. Excuse you, there's nobody that is your brother and sister. You don't have brother and sister in the workplace. So if you feel very excited and you just want to share a comment, do not forget to use the person's first name. Things like dear, or you shorten people's name without their consent. You use endearing names. Oh, sweetheart. Oh, my darling. Darling, key you dear. Please do not make these mistakes. Trust me, you may not mean any harm, but they don't see it that way. You come off as a pest when you do things like this and you don't actually seek for consent. You come off as irresponsible. You are in the workplace. Workplace rules apply. Please do not make these mistakes, my dear friends and family here. If for any reason you are unsure, even things like taking a photo, you have to ask, are you okay with me taking a picture? Privacy here is such a big deal. Consent is even a bigger deal here, guys. Please do not make these mistakes. Okay? So long as you do this, trust me, you are fine. Don't get carried away with wanting to offer a hug or taking pictures without seeking for the person's consent, or replacing people's first names with endearing words like dear, my darling, oh sweetie. Oh no, don't do that, girl. Don't do that, boy. Don't even try it. Mm-mm. It's bad. Don't say I did not do anything nice for you guys. So I've told you. Another silent point slash mistake that people make. Guys, I am guilty of this one, I would not lie. You know how maybe something happens, or someone calls and say, oh sorry, and next thing you hear, oh, it's not your fault. Truly, it's something that I feel like, oh, I'm just offering you, I don't know, it's the word sympathy, like just checking on you, showing an extra measure of care. It's different here, guys. It's different. Don't say sorry when it's not needed. Make a conscious effort not to say sorry when it's not needed. I am still trying to get this one. Like, it's hard because we are so used to, oh, sorry. Before you know, you can even add a yeah. There's no a yeah in this matter. There's no a yeah in this matter. There's no sorry. Maybe someone calls and, oh, sorry. If you actually say sorry, the person, oh, it's not your fault. Like, why should you be sorry? And in my head, I'm like, I'm just telling you sorry. Asking me why isn't my fault. It's a thing here. Most times they don't like it. It could make them feel uncomfortable. So I try as much as possible not to say sorry when it's not needed. Yeah, I'm learning. I'm still learning in this one, guys. Trust me, it's hard, but you can do it. Try. Okay, my next point is polite communication and email etiquette. Now, in the Canadian workspace, you will find out that a high degree of tact and politeness is exercised on a regular basis. It's easy for you to misread this, you know, coming from a culture where there's a high degree placed on hierarchy, to the point where you know, that thing I said about wanting to address your boss as sir or madam, it also trickles down in the language, your email language. So in a scenario where you have been thrown into a bunch of emails, like in an email thrill, why I advise that you go through the entire trail of emails, not just to understand what the subject matter of discussion is. It is also good to read through to understand the communication style of, you know, people in that email. In a scenario where I was to make a response in that email to someone I haven't had cause to relate with, this is something I usually do, and it would be nice for you to try it. Let's say the person I'm trying to reply to is John. I would say, hi John, it's nice to meet you. That shows that you are polite. In as much as you haven't you haven't met the person before, like you haven't had an in-person encounter with that person. A virtual introduction is the way to go. I strongly recommend a virtual introduction. Secondly, another way to douse such authoritative tone in responding to your email, let's say you're trying to make a request of a colleague, you use kindly provide this report on or before or by the end of day today. You can use instead phrases like, I would appreciate it if I could get this report end of day. It's way better than say, kindly produce this report. Come on, you're not talking to a baby. And even if you're talking to a baby, I don't think that's the way to go, right? So these little differences can actually make the day. Believe me, before people see you, let your words go before you. So you must learn how to communicate in a clear manner in such a way that your message is understood and in a polite way. If you are able to master these two things, then you are on the right track. As a bonus, another thing I like to do if I am responding to folks that are not new, these are people I regularly respond to. For instance, if I had an email response or an email sent to me on Friday and I'm trying to respond to that email on a Monday, I would say, "Hi, John. I hope your weekend was restful and restorative." You could just, make a nice little small talk and then go straight into the email. That way, it kind of, eliminates any form of tension in the email and just generally creates like that relaxed atmosphere where people are communicating and trying to get stuff done. Trust me, these little things go a long way. It shows that you are gradually learning the culture of the workplace and you are fully integrated as well, and you can relate with your colleagues. You may think that they are nothing. Trust me, these things go a long way. So, email etiquette is such a big deal. Polite communication is such a big deal. While passing your instructions, be very polite about it. Be very cautious, exercise tact. As I said before people get an opportunity to meet you as a person, let your language precede you. I have been in a work setting where when I finally get to meet the person, "Oh, it's you sending all those emails." And I'm wondering, like, it's just an email. But you're doing something good and you're making sure that in trying to get people to do their bit of the work, you create that relaxed atmosphere. It's very important, guys. The final thing I want to note on here is the place of punctuality and deadlines. Typical Nigerians, we have the African man culture. Guys, this is one thing you need to unlearn. It doesn't work here. There's no such thing as coming to work late. You have to wake up earlier if you need to be at work a certain time. If you have any reason why you're going to be late, be sure to communicate to your supervisor on why you're going to be late, or just mention that. I know different work settings could be different, but it doesn't show integrity if you are constantly late to the office and you don't even have any genuine reason as to why you were late. If for any reason you are late, do not fail to communicate that to your supervisor. It makes a huge difference. As for meeting deadlines, you stand out if you're able to meet your deadlines and you are a solution provider. In a scenario where you're not able to meet your deadlines, do not fail to communicate that with your supervisor. If there's anything I appreciate about the Canadian workspace, is that they create that enabling environment where you can actually communicate your challenges to your supervisor. While you're trying to get the job done, be realistic about your goals. So that's that thing about, especially when you start your job newly, be sure to have like those meetings with your boss where they tell you exactly what is expected of you, and you too, you're able to ask your questions. You ask them what like their expectations would be, and vice versa. Do not fail to ask these questions at the early stage, because as time goes on in your job, you will find out that these things play out. So you don't want to come off as someone that is not capable of doing your job, and you also do not want to come off as someone who is overworked. You need to know how to strike the balance. If you feel like you need more, whatever it is that you need, that will make your job easier, do not fail to request for these things. It's not like how you're not able to communicate the things that would help you deliver your job better. Here they expect you to communicate exactly what you would need that will make you deliver on the job. So do not be shy about conversations like this. Trust me, they would even help you at the long run. Okay? Finally, there is a time and place for everything. What I mean by this, I would explain shortly. When it's time to work, please, by all means, do your job. You don't want to be found chatting unnecessarily. In fact, it even makes you look silly when you're trying to talk to your colleagues and everyone is busy doing their job. Doesn't that tell you something? You need to look inward. You need to be very observant in your environment. And this is something that most people tend to do. They tend to overwork themselves. Like, except your work setting permits for overtime and you earn from overtime, do not get carried away with work after work hours. Try to strike a good work balance. When it's past your work time, go home. You will come back to the job tomorrow and continue from where you stopped. Make a good habit of knowing when to stop work. When it's time to stop work, try and stop work. If for any reason maybe you have deadlines and you need to extend, I can totally accept that. But do not make a habit of working extra hours long after it is past your work time, especially if you are not paid for extra hours. Don't do that. The sub part of this point is that Canadians are very big on their vacation time. Sometimes, as a new immigrant, because you want to make ends meet, you would want to overwork, overburden yourself with extra job. I totally understand that bills need to be paid, but what is the point of working yourself excessively and you do not even have the time to enjoy your health? You want to overlabor yourself, you want to stress yourself, you break down at the end of the day mentally, physically, your body is stressed. Learn to treat your body right. Take your vacation. Most of these jobs, you are paid to go on vacation. Take it. You have earned it. You have contributed your bit. Go on your vacation when you need to go on your vacation. Guys, if there's anything I have learned is try not to burn out in course of doing your job. It's easy to get burned out. That is why you have your vacation time. That is why you have other leaves. Please use it. Don't accumulate it to the point where you can't even take them again. Trust me, your body will thank you when you take your time off work. It helps you to power up again to continue back on the job. So guys, this brings me to the end of this session. I hope that you found this video very helpful. Please share in the comment section in case I missed out other things. This is a learning space. This is such an important and sensitive topic. A lot of people, especially new immigrants, do not know how to navigate the Canadian workplace culture, and oftentimes they struggle and even end up in bigger problems. Please share in the comment section, what has your experience been so far? What other workplace culture do you want to share with folks? As always, I am happy to read your comments in the comment section. Feel free to ask me your questions. If you have stayed up till this point in time in this video, I'm glad you did stay up till this time. Please do not fail to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Hit the notification bell icon, like this video, and don't forget to share with your loved ones, especially folks who are looking to come this way or they're in the process of um, navigating the Canadian workplace culture, getting a new job, trying to be situated. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking up till this time. Have a fantastic week.